Hello and welcome back to our channel. Hope you all are doing well. Let us begin with a new topic, and that is Accounting Standard 10, Property, Plant and Equipment. This AS was earlier known by the name of Accounting for Fixed Assets, and later on it was revised, and now the name is Property, Plant and Equipment. This accounting standards has the following 4 parts. The first part is Basics and Principles for Recognition and Measurement of PPE. Then you have Revaluation of PPE. Part 3 is Depreciation. Now depreciation was earlier covered by AS 6. There was a separate accounting standard, but now that AS has been deleted and AS 6 has been merged with AS 10. And finally you have part 4, that is Impairment, Derecognition and any other matters. So what we will do is start with part 1. Applicability. AS 10 PPE should be applied in accounting for PPE except when another AS requires or permits a different accounting treatment. Example, recognition of leased PPE as per AS 19. So of course, when a separate AS is specifically applicable for a particular PPE, then AS 10 will not apply, but that specific AS will apply. Like in the case of leased assets, AS 19, that is leases, will be applicable instead of AS 10. Non-applicable assets. What are the assets to which AS 10 is not applicable? Let us see. First is biological assets related to agricultural activity. What are biological assets? Biological assets include all trees and plants and livestock. So livestock also includes cattle, horses, bullocks, etc. All these assets are excluded from AS 10. And also wasting assets, including mineral rights, expenditure on the exploration for and extraction of minerals, oil, natural gas and similar non-regenerative resources. For this also AS 10 is not applicable because there is a separate guidance note issued by ICI for this. Then you have exceptions to non-applicability. What are the exceptions to non-applicability? The meaning of this is AS 10 will apply to these assets. Let us take the first one, that is bearer plants, but not to produce on bearer plants. Firstly, we need to know what is the meaning of bearer plant and produce on bearer plant. Let us take an example. So this is an apple tree. Now, if you see the fruit, that is the apple itself, is known as produce. And the tree without the fruits will be known as the bearer plant. Any produce growing on this tree is known as produce on bearer plant. And the tree apart from its produce will be known as the bearer plant. So out of these two, AS 10 is applicable to the bearer plant and not to produce on bearer plants. This bearer plant, which is covered by AS 10, actually has very insignificant value. It can be sold only as scrap, but the real value is in the fruits, that is the apple, and that produce is not under the scope of AS 10. Then secondly, we have PPE used to develop or maintain biological assets or wasting assets. Now if you see, biological assets and wasting assets are not included in the scope of AS 10. However, any PPE used to maintain those assets will be covered by AS 10. For example, biological assets, when you are farming, a tractor is used for farming purposes. So whatever agricultural produce is produced out of that activity is not covered by AS 10. However, the tractor that is used for that agricultural activity, that will be covered by AS 10. And finally, you have investment property as defined in AS 13. Investment property is actually covered by AS 13, that is accounting for investments, but AS 10 specifies the accounting treatment to be done for investment property. Now you have the definition of PPE. So let us define what is property, plant and equipment. Tangible items that are held for use in the production or supply of goods or services, rental to others, or for administrative purposes and such tangible items that are expected to be used for more than 12 months. So it's a very simple definition. Firstly, it should be a tangible item, which means you can touch and feel that item. Only then will it be qualified to be called as PPE. And secondly, what is the use? It should be used for production or supply of goods and services. Whatever is your main principal business activity, that PPE should be used for that activity. Or it can be used for rental to others, which means you own the asset but have given it on rent to the others and earn rental income. In that case also, the assets that are given on rent will be included under the definition of PPE. And finally, for administrative purposes, which means any equipment used in an office area, for example, an air conditioner or a water purifier or maybe a photocopy machine. All of these relating to administrative activities will also qualify as property, plant and equipment. And all of these PPE should be capable of being used for more than 12 months, which means they should be long-term assets, non-current assets, and only then will they be called as property, plant and equipment. Moving forward, what are the principles for recognition and measurement of PPE? Now the word recognition means bringing into the balance sheet, and the word measurement means at what value it should enter the balance sheet. So let us have a read. Cost of an item of PPE should be recognized only if it is probable that future economic benefits associated with the item will flow to the enterprise and cost of the item can be measured reliably. Now, there are two conditions for the asset to enter the balance sheet, and the first one is you should get some benefit from that asset. Now, that benefit can be monetary or non-monetary. It can be in the terms of increase in efficiency, increase in output. Whatever is the benefit, it should flow to the enterprise. And secondly, whatever was the cost of that asset, that should be able to be measured reliably. If you can measure that reliably and it is providing you some benefit in the future, then you can enter the fixed asset into the balance sheet. Then what are the timing of costs? Now the first time when you purchase an asset or you construct an asset, all costs that is incurred there will go under the heading of initial costs, and subsequently later on when you are making some additions to that fixed asset or some improvement to that fixed asset or some changes are being made in that particular PPE, then all those costs incurred for those changes will be included under the head of subsequent costs. The next is unit of measure. Now let us see what unit of measure means. AS 10 does not specify what constitutes an item of PPE. Judgment is required in applying the recognition criteria to specific circumstances of an enterprise. There is no specific prescription of unit of measure for recognition in AS 10. Example, molds, tools and dies can be aggregated to apply the PPE criteria, then individually. Now let us take another example. Let's say an enterprise has purchased one screwdriver whose cost is 50 rupees. Now 50 rupees is a very small amount to classify separately as a property, plant and equipment, because the benefits are going to be used for more than 12 months. So it actually classifies as PP, but the amount is very insignificant. But if you collectively put 1000 screwdrivers put together and then collectively call that as property, plant and equipment, that makes more sense. But now what is that unit of measure? It depends on the size of that organization and nature of the item. So of course, judgment has to be applied in each organization and for every item as to what constitutes an item of property, plant and equipment. Now we come to measurement. At what value should the PPE enter into the balance sheet? At recognition, that is at the first time when you are bringing it into the books of accounts, it should always be measured at cost. Property, plant and equipment at initial recognition should always be measured at cost. Then what about after recognition? Subsequently, what happens? After recognition, it may be measured as per the cost model or as per the revaluation model. Now what is cost model and what is revaluation model is covered in part 2, that is revaluation of property, plant and equipment. So for now, we only need to know that at recognition, fixed assets, that is property, plant and equipment, are measured at cost. Now when we talk about cost, what all is included in cost, let us have a look. Computation of cost for initial measurement, that is at recognition of property, plant and equipment. Purchase price, add import duties and non-refundable purchase taxes less trade discounts and rebates. So whatever was the original purchase price of the asset, to that you will add any import duties if the asset has been imported from another country, as well as all non-refundable taxes, which means any tax for which you get a refund or a credit, those taxes will not form part of cost. Non-refundable taxes are to be added, and in case any trade discounts or rebates have been received, that will be used to reduce cost. Then secondly, you have any cost directly attributable to bringing the asset to the location and condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by management. Now to understand this point, let us take a simple example. Let's say we own a factory premise and we want to purchase a new equipment, that is a diesel generator, and the manufacturer is this company called Cummins. Now we have already paid the purchase price for buying this diesel generator. However, right now it is at the manufacturer's premise. What we need to do is install this at our factory premise. So whatever costs are incurred to bring that diesel generator to our factory premise, get it installed, and it should also be able to operate as per the management's intention. All those costs that are involved over there will also form part of cost of the asset. So let's say the original price of the asset is 20 lakh rupees. But costs of bringing it to the factory premise and installing it, and also it should be able to perform as per the management's intention, all costs incurred there were rupees 3 lakhs. Now therefore the total cost of this diesel generator is not only 20 lakh rupees, but it is totally 23 lakh rupees. That was the meaning of all costs related to bring the asset to the present location and condition, and also for it to operate as per the management's intention. Then thirdly, we have initial estimate of decommissioning, restoration and similar liabilities, that is the cost of dismantling, removing the item and restoring the site on which it is located. So again, let us take an example to understand what is the meaning of this third point. Let's say there was a piece of land on which you wanted to install a huge machinery. Earlier, this piece of land was a fertile piece of land on which agricultural activity used to be performed. But now you have dug the land, removed all the soil, and then installed a heavy machinery on such piece of land. Now, the life of this machinery is 10 years. You are going to use this piece of land for the next 10 years. However, after 10 years, when you remove the machinery from that piece of land, the government has stated that you should replace the land and get it back to the original position as it was earlier, before installation of this heavy machinery. So let's say that cost which you are going to incur 10 years later, you can only make a rough estimate of such amount which is going to be expended 10 years later, and that comes to 5 lakh rupees. This 5 lakh rupees also should be added to the cost of asset today itself. This 5 lakh rupees, remember, is just an estimate. So you should make a rough estimate of how much liability is going to be incurred on removal of such asset, on decommissioning of such asset, or dismantling of the asset. Not only such cost, but cost of repairing the land also is included in the cost of the asset. Now, when we talk about point number 2, that is directly attributable cost, AS10 itself has specified what is included in directly attributable cost. So let us have a look. Inclusions in directly attributable cost: direct cost of employees. So all employees, the direct labor that they are employing on that asset will be added. Cost of site preparation, initial delivery and handling costs, installation and assembly costs, cost of testing less net proceeds from selling any items produced while testing. This is an important point. Before the machinery can start its normal production, a small test run is done to see if the products are being produced as per the quality desired. So during that testing, some cost is incurred. That cost also should form part of the asset. Any income generated from selling those test units will be used to reduce cost. And finally, you have professional fees. For example, if you have employed an architect for preparation of the site or for the design of the site, then his professional fees also will be added in the cost of the asset. Then specifically, what are the items not included in cost? Let's have a look. Cost of opening a new facility or business, such as inauguration costs, cost of introducing a new product or service, including cost of advertising and promotional activities. Any cost that is incurred in the nature of advertisement will never form part of cost of the asset. Then you have cost of conducting business in a new location with a new class of customers, including cost of staff training. So you are moving your operations, let's say, from Pune to Mumbai, and now you have to train a new set of staff at Mumbai. All such costs will never form part of cost of the PPE. And finally, administrative and other general overheads. Then we have cessation of cost recognition. What is the meaning of cessation? The word cessation means to stop. When do you stop recognizing cost of the asset? Recognition of cost in the carrying amount of an item of PPE ceases when the item is in the location and condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by the management. So once the asset has been purchased, has been transported from the manufacturer's premise and now installed in your premise, and all necessary costs are also incurred for it to be able to operate as per the management's intention, then further costs after that point will never be added to cost of the asset. Also, costs incurred in using or redeploying an item are not included in the carrying amount. Example, cost of relocating or reorganization will never form part of cost of the asset. Then moving further, we have incidental operations. What is the meaning of incidental operations? Let us understand. All those activities that are carried out when the asset is being purchased or constructed, or before the asset is being purchased or constructed, all those activities are known as incidental operations. Let us have a look. Incidental operations are not necessary to bring an item to the location and condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by management. So incidental operations are not a necessary condition. Secondly, incidental operations may occur before or during construction or development. Example, income earned through using a building site as a car park until construction starts. So you are building a huge factory premise, but until the entire construction is over, some portion of the piece of land is being used as a parking lot. So all such expenses and incomes earned from that parking lot will not affect the cost of the asset. Such items are recognized in the statement of P&L and included in their respective classification of income and expense. They are not included in the cost of property, plant and equipment. Let us move further. What are the principles to measure cost at initial recognition? Point 1 is the general situation. The cost will be cash price of the PPE at the recognition date. So whatever was the original price of the asset on the date of purchase will be the cost at initial recognition. Then point number 2, payment is deferred. Payment is deferred, which means you are not paying the entire amount of the asset upfront. It is being paid in installments, for example. Then cash price is recognized as cost of PPE, and interest, that is the total payment less cash price, is either recognized as an expense over the credit period or capitalized as per AS 16. Now AS 16 is borrowing cost, which is not included here in AS 10. But interest is an expenditure paid above the cash price of the asset. Such expenditure will never form part of cost of the asset. It will be directly taken to the debit side of profit and loss account. So let's say you have an arrangement with the seller that if the price of the asset is 1 lakh, you are making only 20,000 rupees upfront payment, and the remaining 80,000 is being paid in installments along with interest. So entire price of the asset, that is 1 lakh rupees, will go to the asset side of the balance sheet, and any interest paid above that 1 lakh rupees will go to the profit and loss account. Now if this interest is being paid over multiple years, then in each year only that proportion which belongs to that year will be taken to P&L account. Then we have situation number 3, wherein items of PPE are purchased for a consolidated price. Then consideration is apportioned to the various items on the basis of their respective fair values at the date of acquisition. So again, for example, let's say 3 machines are being purchased. Machine A, machine B, and machine C. Now, while purchasing these 3 machines, entire amount is paid together all at once, and the amount was 10 lakh rupees. But when you take these 3 assets to the balance sheet asset side, it is to be shown separately as machine A, B and C. Then how do you divide this value 10 lakhs to 3 machines? You have to take the fair value of these 3 assets. Now let's say the fair values of these 3 assets on the date of purchase were 5 lakhs, 3 lakhs and 2 lakhs. Then this entire 10 lakhs will be divided in the ratio of 5:3:2, and you have the values for the 3 machines separately. Then you have part 4, PPE acquired in exchange for non-monetary asset or a combination of monetary and non-monetary asset. Now remember, an asset when you purchase, it may not always be for cash. You may exchange an asset of your own for a new asset. Then in such case, how do you measure cost at initial recognition? Now there can be 2 situations. Either entirely an asset is being exchanged for an asset, that means there is no cash involved, or there is some portion cash involved and the remaining is settled through giving up your own asset. Let us take only the case where an asset is being exchanged for an asset. Now for such exchange transaction, firstly we need to understand the concept of commercial substance. Let us see. An enterprise determines whether an exchange transaction has commercial substance by considering the extent to which its future cash flows are expected to change as a result of the transaction. An exchange transaction has commercial substance if risk, timing and amount of the cash flows of the asset received and transferred are different. So to understand this concept of commercial substance, let's take a simple example. Now let's say there are 2 trucks. You own truck A and you are interested in purchasing another truck B. But you have agreed with the seller that instead of paying cash, you are going to have an exchange transaction, which means you are going to give up truck A in consideration for the incoming truck B. Now, to understand whether this exchange transaction has commercial substance or not, you need to see the nature of cash flows. So let us see. For example, truck A was able to generate 1 lakh rupees per month as revenue for your organization, and truck B is also able to generate only 1 lakh rupees as revenue. Also, the capacity of the 2 trucks may be the same. Let's say truck A was able to carry 8 tons worth of load and truck B is also able to carry only 8 tons. So when you exchange asset, that is truck A, for the incoming truck B, this transaction has no commercial substance because the nature of cash flows or the timing of cash flows or even the amount of cash flows has not changed at all. It was 1 lakh presently and in future also it is going to be 1 lakh from the truck B. So does this transaction, exchange transaction, have any commercial substance? Answer is no. But let's take another example. Let's say there are 2 buses. Again, there is one bus A and there is a bus B. Now bus A has a carrying capacity of 20 passengers. But bus B has a carrying capacity of 50 passengers. Also, the amount of income that is going to be generated from bus B is 10 lakh rupees per annum. And currently, bus A is only able to give you 6 lakh rupees per annum as income. Now, when you exchange bus A for bus B, does this transaction have commercial substance? The answer is yes. the amount and the timing of cash flows are going to be different for bus A and bus B. So when you give up bus A in consideration for bus B that is going to come in, then this exchange transaction has commercial substance. Now, what is the relevance of commercial substance in point number 4? Let us have a look. So point number 4, asset is acquired in exchange for another asset. There can be two situations. Let us see the conditions first. The exchange transaction has commercial substance and fair value of the asset is reliably measurable. Then what is the value of incoming asset? It will be fair value of the asset received. So in our example, when you are giving up bus A and bus B is coming in, you have to check what is the fair value of bus B. Whatever is the fair value of bus B will be written on the asset side of balance sheet on that date of exchange. Fair value of bus B will be the amount to be written on the asset side of balance sheet when two conditions are satisfied. Firstly, the exchange transaction has commercial substance and also you are able to reliably measure whatever is the fair value of the incoming asset, not fair value of the outgoing asset. Then you may have another situation. What if exchange transaction does not have commercial substance or you cannot reliably measure the fair value of the asset? Then in that situation, you have to write the value of the incoming asset as carrying amount of the asset given up. So going back to our example, let's say this transaction does not have commercial substance. Then how do you value the asset? In your balance sheet, you have already written the carrying amount of truck A. Truck A was already there on the asset side of your balance sheet and let's say it was valued at 5 lakh rupees. Now truck A is going to go out and truck B is going to come in. So only thing that is going to change is the word truck A will be replaced by truck B, because this transaction does not have commercial substance. So it still has to be recorded at the carrying amount of the asset given up. So the value in the balance sheet will not change. Only truck B will come in and truck A will go out. But 5 lakhs was the carrying amount and now also after the transaction it still remains at 5 lakh rupees. These were the principles to measure cost at initial recognition. That's it for part 1 of AS10. If you have any doubts, you can definitely call on any of these two numbers to get your doubts resolved. And in case you have found this video useful, please like and share this video as well as subscribe to our channel. Thank you.